Bonjour! Alright, so today we are going to go over Grammaire 1 in Chapitre 1 of your book Bien Dit. So that's on page 12 for those of you following along en français, or page 12 if you're still figuring out your numbers. So on page 12, we are just going to talk a little bit about some parts of speech you may have done in your grammar classes in English, in your daily oral language in elementary school. It's really important to know your parts of speech for when you're learning a language because you can compare them to English, and this helps you with your grammar a little bit because it's nice to know what words you're talking about, what kind of category your words fall into, so you know exactly what you're looking at when you're looking at a sentence in French. So, on page 12, we're just going to talk a little bit about the parts of sentences en français. So up here we have the sentence Paul danse bien. I just want to show you that in French, you always have a subject-verb conjugation, or subject-verb to start a sentence, just like you do in English. And you must always have the subject with the verb. In some other languages, like Spanish, you can drop the subject, but in French you can't. You always have to have the subject, just like you do in English. So up here you have Paul danse bien. So the subject of our sentence is Paul, just like it is in the English version, Paul dances well. So, subject generally goes in the same place. Then you look at your verb. We have an action verb in this first sentence talking about dancing. So, Paul danse bien. There's our verb. Just like in English, we have Paul dances well. That's our verb, our action verb. And it's just similar to the same structure as in English. You've got your subject, then your verb. That's always how it goes. We also have linking verbs in French, just like we do in English, so it doesn't always have to be an action verb. You don't always have to be doing something. Sometimes you're linking your subject to a description or something else. So here you've got Marie est blonde. So Marie is your subject. Just like in your English translation, Marie is blonde. That's our subject. And then your linking verb here, still a verb, same category, is a, is. Just same place, same location as your English equivalent. Marie is blonde. So just a little bit of review of our parts of speech, just so you know, you always have subject-verb en français. But you can replace your subject in French with a subject pronoun. For those of you who forgot maybe what a subject pronoun is, what that is when you're tired of saying somebody's name or repeating the subject of the sentence, such as Paul or the dog or Marie, maybe you're sick of saying Paul dances well, Paul sings well, Paul is the best guy I know. You don't want to say Paul anymore. You're sick of saying his name. So what do you replace the word Paul with? In English, it would be he. So you can also say he dances well. And it makes sense to us. Same thing in French. We have subject pronouns for that. So you can replace the name of the subject, or whatever the subject is, with a subject pronoun, just so you can stop saying it over and over. Same with Marie. So with Marie, you don't want to say Marie anymore. Marie is blonde. She is tall. So you can replace Marie with she. So we have she in English. So we're going to take a quick look over the other half of the board and what the subject pronouns are in French. You've actually already seen quite a few of them from our vocabulary, from that little conversation we put together. So we're just going to look at some of the grammar that you already know, talk about what each of the subject pronouns mean, because while there are lots of equivalents in English, the French ones, there's a couple that are different. So, your first one is je. Je, never j'ai. Je. Je means I, and unlike English, it's never capitalized unless it's the start of a sentence. So, je is I. For tu, we have tu, which means you. So it means you. And this is a special kind of you. So tu is for when you're talking to one singular person, so just one other person, or, and it's when you're talking to one other person who you would be informal with, someone your age, someone not an adult, someone in your family. Tu is the informal version of you, okay? So it's for one person only, and it's informal. Then you have elle or il, which means he, il. That's what we put in for Paul. We would say il danse bien. Then you have elle. Elle is she. So that's what we put in for Marie in our French sentence. We would say elle est blonde. Elle est blonde. Then we have on. O-N on français is a really special kind of pronoun that we don't have a strict equivalent for in English. On translates literally to one or oneself. And you can also use it as slang. You can use it to mean they or people in a really general sense. Really general sense. You can also use it as slang for we. So you can use it as slang for we. That's very common in France, but it is more informal. The proper pronoun for we is actually up here. It's nous. Nous is the proper and official pronoun for we. So that's when you're part of a group and you've got multiple people in there with you. That's when you use that. On is the slang version. Then you've got vous. Vous. Now vous also means you. However, vous is for when you're talking to plural people, multiple people. So if you've got 2 or 3 people that you're talking to and you want to say you or you guys, you would use vous. Even if these are people that you would be informal with. Even if this is like a group of friends, and normally if you're just talking to one of them, you'd call them tu. Well, since there's a group of them, you have to use the you guys, which is vous. So I like to translate that one as like you all, or sometimes as like all y'all. However you guys want to think of it that makes sense to you. So vous is for when you're talking to a group of people. If I were just talking to one student over here, I was talking to Marc, I would say, oh Marc, tu danses bien, tu parles français. But if I was talking to the whole class, I want to say you speak French, you all speak French, I would say vous parlez français. Okay? The other way you can use vous is if you are talking to somebody who you want to show a lot of respect to, so an adult, a teacher, anyone that you don't know that you want to be really respectful to, you can call them vous. And that is just the respectful version of tu. So it has 2 different meanings, okay? That one is tricky. We're going to stick with that. We're going to practice a little bit about when you use tu and vous. It is different in French, and it shows a different level of respect, and it shows a different number of people as well. So watch out for that one. Next you have il, and it's pronounced the same as this one. Il, he, il, I-L-S. We don't say the S. The S only gets said if the next word starts with a vowel. So, il means they, and it is used with a group of 1, all boys. So if it's a group of all boys, you can say they, il. Or 2, if it's a group of girls and boys. In French, you automatically go to the masculine pronoun, the one for boys, if there's a mixed group of girls and boys. I don't know, it's an old rule, it's just part of their grammar. So, if you have a group of girls and boys, you say il, I-L-S. If you have a group of just boys, you also say il, I-L-S, to mean they. However, there is also elle, E-L-L-E-S, elle, pronounced just like elle, she, and this also means they, but you can only use it if it's a group of all girls. Even if you have 20 girls and 1 boy, you have to switch to il, I-L-S. But if it's a group of 50 girls, you can use elle. Even if it's a group of just 2 girls, you can use elle, they. It has to be all girls to use that one. Okay? A couple of other points I wanted to point out to you guys. Je, the pronoun for I, changes to J apostrophe before a vowel sound. You've already seen this with expressing your age. You don't say je ai 15 ans, you say j'ai 15 ans. Just right here. So je changes to J apostrophe before a vowel. So watch out for that on your homework. And then I just want to make sure that you saw some example sentences. En France, on parle français. In France, one speaks French. In France, they speak French. In France, people speak French. So just an example of that pronoun on, to make sure that you know on is very unofficial, doesn't have an English translation. You can use it to mean several things. Okay? It's a very handy pronoun actually. I wish we had an English version of it. So that is a quick overview of your parts of speech and your subject pronouns in French. Bonne chance avec votre devoir et à demain!